I saw one idea here. It says, Vayishlach Yaakov malachim mefanav el Esav achiv. Yaakov sent messengers, angels. Well, messengers or angels before him, the Esav his brother, to the land of Seir. Chapter 34, chapter 32, verse 9. Beginning of Parshas Vayishlach. Chapter 32, verse 9. Yaakov is going out to meet his brother Esav. He sends malachim before him in the land of Seir, Sedei Edom. You have it, Ben? I see you confused.
I'm confused because I'm looking. I'm in
chapter Genesis.
Thank you.
Genesis. So he sends malachim before him. What are malachim here? Rashi says malachim mamish, actual angels. So he's sending gifts to Esav. He's sending gifts, and Rashi says that he sends them. We could have said the word malach in the Torah could be messengers, and it could also be an angel. The Rashi says these are actual angels. The question is, why couldn't he send actual people? Why couldn't he send actual people? So I saw this message. I saw this one commentary explained, why didn't he send it with people? Why do you have to send it with angels? You know the answer to this. Because if he sent it with people, only a small portion of the gift would have gotten there. That's what he says. He says, if I see this here in Tzicha School and Sefer Tzicha School, if you send it through regular messengers, through people, only a small portion. And so therefore, he sent it with actual angels. Yes. Yeah, and the question is, where did he get these angels from? Where did he get the angels from? So there's so the Rashi says it's angels. So where did he get them from? Then there's two approaches that I saw. There's one question. One is from the Rabbunim of Pishcha. He says when a Jew needs help, he can even bother. When a Jew is running away from the enemies, when Esav is running after him and he needs help, he can even bother the angels to come and help him. Another answer is from Rameir of Parmeshlan, and he says that the answer is every time that the Gemara says, whenever you do a good deed, an angel is created. So Yaakov had done all these good deeds in his life, and that's why at this point he had the angels to help him. Okay, so it says, Vayishlach Yaakov malchim ufanav. He sent the angels from before him towards Esav, his brother, to the land of Seir, Sedei Edom. Why does it have to say he sent them from before him? So the Kotzker takes the opposite approach. Kotzker Rebbe says, because the word from before him is actually weird here. It's unusual. He's sending angels from before him. Why didn't you say he's sending angels? So the Kotzker says he was sending angels away from him. He didn't need them anymore. He had God. He didn't need him. He takes the opposite approach. And that's what the Chatham Sofer says. He came to such a high level. Okay, so now we come to one of the very powerful idea here. But before we get to that powerful idea, I want to say that how Rashi understands this. But first, I'll tell you what the next Rashi says. It says in pasuk, "Hey, vayitzav something more." He commanded the angel, saying, "Ko tomrun ladoni Esav." Thus you should say to my master Esav, "Ko amar avdecha Yaakov." This is what your servant Jacob says. Im Lavan garti vayicharadata. I dwelt with Lavan, and I've been delayed till now. What does it mean when it says Im Lavan garti? I lived with Lavan. So here, the well-known Rashi, it's often quoted. He says, I lived with Lavan. Two explanations. Number one, I lived with him, but I did not become a minister. I did not become distinguished, but meaning I was just a sojourner. He doesn't want Esav to think, oh, my brother who ran away got the blessings. He made it all. He made good while I'm suffering. He says, no, I've been a refugee my whole life. I'm a nobody. I'm just like living with Lavan, like a like a foreigner, and I'm a nobody. I'm a refugee. Not that a refugee is nobody, but he's just saying I'm not successful. I'm a poor immigrant and I have no rights. But then he gives another explanation. Rashi says, he says, I don't know. So the first explanation is I lived with Lavan, and the blessings of our father did not come true, because it says, behold, be a lord to your brothers, for it has not been fulfilled in me. I was not a lord to your brothers. But then he gives a second explanation that Garti is the numerical value of the word Taryag. The word Taryag stands for 613, and it stands for Taryag mitzvos, 613 mitzvos. This is the idea that we're supposed to do 613 commandments. All right, so very good question. So the first explanation from Rashi is, you have a great question on it. Where did he get all these? If he's trying to say I'm a nobody, well, I guess we'd have to say it's a very good question. We'd have to say that he's saying I don't have anything. What I have, I'm giving to you. But you're right. It's kind of seems to undercut it.
As a leader of the people, which is why it's slaves and maidservants, everything was put to the front of his soul.
Yeah. So let me, that's a great question. Let me get the book here. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. I'm going to I have the commentary on Rashi. Let me look it up for a second. Hold on. I have the commentaries that they explain Rashi. There's like 7 or 8 commentaries, and Steve's question is so moving to me. I want to check it out. Hello, Jeff. I'm just going to repeat for you, David and Reb David and Reb Jeff. I want to repeat for you the tremendous question that Steve asked. I've been studying. Some people say we study the same Rashi every year. I've been studying this Rashi for many, many years, and I never thought of Steve's question. Steve asks, we're in chapter 32, verse 5. Steve asks the beautiful question that if we're saying, what's the reason why Yaakov says, Jeff, in Lavan Garti? Yaakov says to Lavan, he says to his angels, go send the following message to Esav. In Lavan Garti, I sojourned with Yaakov, with Lavan. And Rashi gives 2 explanations for it. And the first is, it's to tell us that I was a nobody with Lavan. The blessings that my father gave to me were not fulfilled. Meaning, say, my father had said that I was going to be a prince over my brother, and I'm not a lord over my brother. So that's what so Steve says, well, if that's the case, then why does he send all this wealth to him? He's sending all these donkeys and everything. So that's a very, I never thought of that question. I like it a lot. Let me see. Well, that's another answer, but that doesn't answer Rashi's question. That doesn't answer Rashi's question. Let's see. So the commentaries. Yeah, so I don't see, I'm looking at a couple of these commentaries here, and I don't see, hold on, let me just see one more. Okay, I have to look into this more. I don't have an answer to your question, Steve. Steve,
Yeah.
you got me. It's not so hard to get me, but you got me. Okay, so now let's go to the second part of that Rashi, which is the second is that it says Davar Acher. Why did it say in Lavan Garti? Did you have something to add, David? He says with Lavan I lived, and Rashi says here that the word Garti is the gematria. Gematria is when we place a numerical value on each letter. Is the gematria of Taryag, of 613, as if to say, in Lavan Arasha Garti, I sojourned with Lavan the wicked one, Vitaryag mitzvah shamarti. But even though I was living with Lavan, I kept all 613 commandments, and I did not learn from his evil ways. Meaning to say, he's saying that I have, even though I lived with Lavan, he's not trying. He's saying, even though I lived with Lavan, I kept all of the commandments. So what's the point of that? What's he trying to say? He's saying, I was just Garti. I was just sojourning with him. I wasn't part of that. I kept who I am. I kept my Yiddishkeit. I'm still the son of Isaac. I didn't join Lavan's tribe. No, he's not. No, basically. So according to what he's saying this is proof that the blessings have, this is what they have here, is the proof that the blessings have not been fulfilled despite the fact that I've kept the mitzvos. So it's not a weakness on the way I've kept it. It's just that the blessings didn't come. I've done all I was supposed to do. I've done everything I was supposed to do, but the still blessings were still not fulfilled in me. Or don't worry, I didn't take anything from you. I took something of no value. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe even the same with this don't associate me with this I would pass and pretend and kept the mitzvah. I didn't pick up something unassociated with
But he's saying it to Esav. You mean Lavan. Jeff, you mean Lavan. Okay, I got confused, Jeff. You meant Lavan, not Esav. But I saw, let me just say two other things here. One is from just the opposite of what Jeff said, I saw, which is also the opposite means it's basically the same line of thinking. It's just the opposite. And that's from the Baal Shem Tov's grandson. He says, I lived with Lavan for 630, I lived with Lavan and I kept the 613 commandments because I even learned from Lavan. I can learn from everyone. And what did I learn from Lavan? I didn't learn from his bad ways, but I learned from his good ways. I learned from him how do you serve God even with your Yetzer Hara. Meaning to say you have to serve what? What's pretty good? He says I can learn from everyone, so I even learned from Lavan how to serve Hashem. So that's what the Degel Machane Ephraim is. He's the grandson of the Besh, of the Baal Shem Tov. But let me just share, since he's not directly on Rashi, but this is on that note, we have the Rebbe Melech says something. So this is what Rebbe Melech says. Lavan, in the Noam Melech, he writes the following. That's his classic work. This is the namesake of the yeshiva. So let me just share it. It says Lavan is the letters Lamed Bet Nun. That's the stay. You could mix up the letters, which is a classic Hasidic way of interpreting, and you can turn into Naval, which means disgusting, meaning to say corrupt. So the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, is called Naval, corrupt. But after a person merits to serve God with both their good inclination and their sinful inclination, as to say, with all your heart, with your two inclinations, then the Yetzer Hara turns from Naval into what? Lavan. What is another word for Lavan? What does Lavan also mean? White. Turns from the Naval into the Lavan. And when will a person be able to do this? How can a person turn their Naval Yetzer Hara into their white, into white? How did the person do this? Close, so close. Say it a little better, because you're saying, look at the verse. What does the verse say? It's from the verse. Now, I mean, I have the answer, so that's why I can say this. I see what Rebbe Melech is saying, because I see it in front of me. He says, when does a person merit to do this? When he holds himself out in this world like a stranger, like a sojourner, like a foreigner. When we feel like we are just visitors, like we don't feel like, in Hebrew, Magiya lanu, we don't feel like we are worthy. We just feel like we're humble, when we have humility. And that's what it means, im Lavan garti. With Lavan I sojourn, meaning to say, because I lived with Lavan, because I sojourned with Lavan, and I held myself out like a foreigner, like a stranger. You just put the hood on, keep the hoods on, keep the hoods on. Or you could get a kippah from upstairs in the base if you want. So he says, because I felt I was like a stranger, that I didn't feel like I was entitled. I didn't have the sense of entitlement. That's why I merited to turn the Naval into the Lavan, to turn this corrupt aspect of me, the sinful aspect of me, into white. Meaning to say, through humility. And I delay, and then the next part says, "Va'echar ad atan." I was delayed until now. What does that mean? Means it didn't come quickly. It took a long time. It took days and years to get to that high spiritual level. Now let me just summarize what we're saying. Because it's the Zayda. The Zayda is saying it. Mezaydi is saying it. Rebbe Melech. So I have to share it. So he says like this. He says, Yaakov says, go tell Lavan, go tell Esav, this is what your servant Jacob says, im Lavan garti. With Lavan I sojourned, and I was delayed until now. So Rashi says this means that with Lavan I sojourned. The word garti means taryag. I kept the 613 commandments. But comes along the Degel Machane Ephraim, and he says, what does it mean I lived with Lavan? Even though I lived with him, I learned from him. The reason why I was able to keep the 613 commandments was because I learned from him how to use my evil inclinations for good. So that's what he's saying. I learned how to do I learned how to do it for good. But comes along Rebbe Melech, and Rebbe Melech says it needs even more than that. The word Lavan starts off as the word Naval, which is corruption. And by turning it, by acting like a Garti, by acting like humble, like a foreigner, that's how you're able to turn the corruption into Lavan, into white. And then the next part of the verse says, I was delayed until now. That's what Rabbi Melch says. It takes a long time to get there. It's not something you could do overnight. The humility is the only mitzvah that you could do if you don't try to do it. If you're trying to do it, you're by definition not doing it. It's just something you just have to be. But if you say, I'm going to try to be humble, that's the opposite of humility.
You know, kids use this term try hard. It's a derogatory term for someone who's trying too hard. Kids, this is maybe 5 or 10 years ago. You could call someone try hard. If you're trying hard, you're trying too hard.
So it's an insult. So try hard is an insult. Try hard is an insult. Oh, thank you, Jeff, for bringing it. Yeah,
So,
it's the same letter.
letter.
So therefore, it's more. Yeah, Shoshana.
As to why Esau would care about any of this. He got cheated.
Yeah,
Perhaps he got cheated. Does he care if his brother made out well or made out bad? I mean, maybe he'd like to know that his brother didn't do so well. But why does Esau care? Is Jacob offering him back his place as firstborn? Is he offering him back? Is he not offering him back? An ox,
very nice question. Excellent question. Yes.
If he suggests that he's turned his Yetzer Hara to be good, he's turned blackness into white, then, that suggests he's should be more receptive to. I realize I've been sinful in these ways. I brought down my Yetzer Hara. And
I don't hear him say, I'm sorry.
What?
I don't hear him say, I'm sorry.
Saying.
For deceiving our father.
Yeah, but the point is, it could be a way of saying, I'm a different person. But most likely, maybe he's. Yeah, there's a lot of different approaches to how we understand it. But before we get to that, Jerry raising his hand. Yes, Jerry.
Yes, I'm a little confused. You made the point that the word Lavan can be by mixing up the letters something evil, but you then stated that the Yetzer Hara was conquered by Jacob. I thought we're talking about Lavan, what Jacob learned the bad things from Lavan. What bad things that did what bad characteristics in Lavan's makeup did Jacob learn?
No, so they're talking you're right to ask these questions, of course, but they're talking poetically, really symbolically, and they're saying Lavan represents the inclination for sin. They're not talking specifics about it, but you're right to ask these questions. That's Hasidic ideas are really spiritual poetry. They're trying to inspire with these ideas, and they're trying to make these verses relevant. And so what Rabbi Melch is saying to his students, his takeaway message, what he's speaking in the 18th century, is that you could take your sinful qualities and you can overcome them. And the way you do that is through humility and recognizing that you're just a stranger in this land, you're a foreigner, and this is something that takes a long time to develop. And he pulls that out of this verse. And to make it beautiful, to make it really poetic, is that he combines it with the words and the verse itself, and you see that's the power of the words. But yeah, you're right. If you ask too many questions about it, it doesn't hold, because that's not. Yeah, but now here the Kedushas Levi, who's Reb Levi Yitzchak of Berdichev, the next generation, or 2 generations after Reb Melch, he asks Shoshana's question. Why does Esav care that Yaakov guarded the 613 commandments? Why does he care? That's what Shoshana asked. So he quotes his Rebbe, who says that the reason why it's relevant is because it says, and I had an ox and a donkey. Oh, this answers Steve's questions too. He says, don't be jealous of me for having these brachos, these blessings, because this is not, this is what Kedushas Levi says. My father blessed me that I'm going to get the dew of the heavens and the fat of the earth. And all I got was ox and donkeys. So that's not the fulfillment of the blessings. That answers your question also, Steve. And so Esav could say, oh, well, maybe it's because you didn't keep the Torah. So therefore, and the only reason why you got these blessings was because you didn't get the blessings because you didn't keep the Torah. So therefore, Yaakov says, no, I kept the Torah and still I didn't get the blessings. So you see, Rabbi Yitzchak answers both Steve's and Shoshana's question. It's like he's sitting down with you at the table.
He didn't get the blessings because he stole them from his brother.
No, that's not what he's saying.
I know.
Yeah, but I'm just-
I would have to think if I'm
Yeah.
Ava. No, you didn't get the blessings, Jacob, because they weren't yours to have, they were mine to have. So you tried to steal them from me and you failed.
Probably that's another, you're gonna write your own commentary. It's beautiful. All right, well, shkoyach to everybody. See, it all came together. The questions were answered. Beautiful. All right, Rabbi Yosef, did you have a question? I should cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, I don't remember